So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, you missed you missed Daniel playing Dayenu. 15 verses. We sang the story of God's presence with the people from the beginning through the Exodus to home. And we laughed, and it was awesome. We sang that because we read Deuteronomy and the end of Moses' life. Moses looking out over the promised land, not being able to go there himself, but realizing his life's work had led him to that moment. Um, and there he died. And so we acknowledge that in these times we sometimes find it difficult to invest ourselves in projects that will not benefit us. There was a time when we talked about generations to come and making a better life for them, but so much of what we hear nowadays is about how it will benefit us right now, and people reluctant to spend money, time, or effort on something that they will never see themselves. Well, there's Moses. And we acknowledge too that when you think about it, Moses died at 120 years old. That would mean that Moses was just coming on 80 when he took on his greatest challenge to confront the Pharaoh and to lead his people on an exodus 40 years through the desert. I don't know about you, but a lot of us, the closer we get to 80, the more we're pretty much ready to stop taking on new projects. So just hearing that today, well, that could have been inspiration enough. Well, we went further, and we heard some spectacular music, some really beautiful music. God is Here, done in a jazz duet that, wow, just wow. But we listened to Matthew's gospel, and again, they're trying to trick Jesus and asking Jesus, of all the commandments, what's the most important one? Knowing full well that whatever Jesus picks, he's going to tick somebody off. It's kind of like asking a politician, well, are you for jobs or are you for the environment? Are you for the future or for you protecting our borders? Are you for immigration or are you for our values? No matter what you say, somebody's going to be unhappy. But Jesus, rather than pick a favorite of the 613 available commandments, he in a sense summarizes and says that indeed the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart and your soul and your mind, to love your neighbor as yourself. He then turns around and asks them a question about who the Messiah will be, son of David. And then he says, yeah, but how is that David refers to the Messiah in spirit anyway as Lord, and he plays scripture to sort of fool them, confound them, and shut them up. But I think if we listen to the text, we also hear that what Jesus is saying in this gospel is that loving God with all of your heart, your soul, and your mind, loving your neighbor, is not just a Jewish thing. It's bigger than David. It's not just a religious thing. It's a living thing. And so we spent some time today talking about what it means to love God with our heart. I talked about the things that we have done foolishly when we have loved somebody, the lengths we go to, the foolishness, the joy, the giddiness, the strange things we'll do when we fall in love. And I asked, when was the last time any of us did something like that for God, for our faith? We talked about what it is to love God with our minds, and surely it's not shutting our minds down. It's not, you don't love God by hiding the questions or ignoring the questions. You love God by engaging in the questions and asking, how can this happen in the world? How can God be real if this happens? These are fair questions to ask. If indeed God is real and our questions are real, then they should be engaged and we should discover them. And I confess that there was a time that there were texts and stories I would avoid, contradictions that came up in the Bible. I wouldn't want to preach them. I wouldn't want to bring them up because I didn't know how to explain them. And now, as I'm a little older, maybe less arrogant. I relish those questions. As I share those questions with people and listen to them and get engaged in conversation, I discover answers. And they're not always answers that appeal to the intellect. Sometimes they're answers that appeal to the heart, or they just, I, I become comfortable in the mystery of the question, and I find myself at home. So we ask what it means to love God with our soul, our essence. And I think it is that sense of home. It's the sense that you get when you pick up your grandchild or your child for the first time and hold her or him in your arms. It's that feeling you get when you're waiting for a dear, dear friend at the airport, and as they arrive and you see them, that joy that, oh, here is somebody with whom I am just completely me. And now we're going to share, and I'm going to listen, I'm going to talk, and I'm going to be at home in their presence with them. And I'm going to feel better because I am with them. That's loving God with your soul. When was the last time you did that? Felt at home, at peace, filled, part of God. And that's what we strive for. That's the invitation. To love God with our heart, to be foolish and crazy, to love God with our mind and question and struggle and not be satisfied with trite bumper sticker answers, but not to be afraid to engage with others and to listen. And in doing that, find our home in those conversations, in our faith, in our God, recognizing that it is part of who we are always, and it's good. Yeah, that would have been enough. Died you. Anyway, that's what we did today at Jubilee, and I'm sorry we missed you, but hopefully we'll get to see you soon. And until we do, give it a shot. Love God with your heart, your mind, your soul. If you can't find God to do that, then you know what? Find a neighbor. Love them with your heart, your mind, and your soul. And you know what? It's pretty much the same thing. Till we see you again. God bless.